guys, and welcome back for another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at this interaction on The Breakfast Club between Charlamagne Tha God and Larry Elder. We're going to go ahead and check out this interaction.
We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged Black women to be single mothers, correct? So who's in charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system at the time, the Democrats at the time?
Say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the Black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intention. If you look at the New York Times, which is left-wing, the Washington Post, which is left-wing, they cheered all of this.
So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. It's a simple question, white or Black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare by Democrats, by the left.
Correct. Okay. Was Lyndon Johnson white or Black?
Who put him in charge?
Maybe that'll help.
Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Oh my goodness. I don't understand the point of all that. Like, she just was trying to stress so hard to make sure that it was known that white people were in charge. And all he's saying is, at a certain point in time, yes, there was systematic things that happened that were in place to keep Black people down. But it's up to the Black people to go ahead and use those services and use those means of income rather than building their own. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to go on welfare just because it was there. Like, that wasn't something you had to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I think he was just trying to put out. Like, yeah, those things were in place, but it was up to the Black people themselves to make whatever choices in life that they made to get their lives where they're going. And we're going to see that time and time in this interaction. But, yeah, anything you got to say so far?
You know what? I can honestly say I agree with him, even though that system, because I won't even say that was, I kind of agree with him. It wasn't that was the malicious intent of doing that, but I will say that it was a choice. It's like a lot of women chose to put their husbands or their men out. It was like, hey, I can get more from the government if you're not here, so you get to own. And I mean, it just led to a breakdown of the Black nuclear family. So yeah. I do agree, they didn't have to accept it. There's some people that would rather struggle. You know, that Luther Vandross song, I'd rather have bad times with you than good times with someone new. Well, me personally, I'd rather have good times with the person I'm with, but at the same time, you just don't abandon. There's no price. Well, there's always a price. Sorry, that sounds bad. But I feel for what should I say, an important person in your life, they're priceless. Their value cannot be, it's no number on their value.
Right. To
have that person that's going to have your back and be there with you through thick and thin, that's a beautiful thing, whether it's a family member or a friend.
Yeah, definitely.
Lover.
Husband.
Wife. Children.
You said, you talked about the smash and grabs, right? And I find that interesting because, you know, when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white male.
Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that of mass shootings.
That's the part that I really don't care for when it comes to, like, the majority of Black people trying to defend Black community or just Black people in general. They always have to bring up, well, the white man does, or white women do. Always have to bring up, and it has nothing to do with anything. You're bringing up mass shooters being white people.
And you know what? It's a bad way of looking at it, to be honest, because I even deal with this from some of my employees. They be like, well, what about that person? Or what about this? And I tell them, I'm like, it's not about that person. Don't worry about that person. I'm dealing with you right now.
It's almost like pass the buck, pass the blame. It just seems like a lot of Black people don't want to accept based upon you and your thinking about your own potential and what you've actually tried to achieve. I mean, a lot of Black women have master's degrees and things like that. So there's nothing holding Black people back anymore.
And me personally, I just hate the fact that in this day and age, we're still blaming stuff on slavery. Slavery has ended a while ago, and don't get me wrong. You know what, I'm for one, you know what, they're trying to take, what should I say, teaching slavery out of schools. I don't feel they should do that. I feel they can't do that because slavery is actually a part of American history. So it's not African slavery, or I don't know what you call it. It's American history. That's a part of America. But at the same time, I don't feel that we should limit ourselves based on what happened in the past. No excuse. It's no.
Yeah. There's really no excuses at this point. But this conversation gets even more interesting, and it's just like just watching the irritation level of Larry Elder when he was looking over kind of at the woman who's on camera. What is her name? Teslin or something like that. It was like he cut her eyes at one moment. He was like literally like that.
Okay. Mr. Elder, quick question. Let's just remove the word racism. Okay. Mr. Elder, quick question.
Because, you know, she's just, well, I just want you to say that it's a white person. You can hear her anger and that aggression, that typical aggression that our women tend to have for no reason at all, just because you're saying something she don't like. You can hear the madness in her voice. Like, you can hear she's ready to go ham, but because she's in this setting and that's Larry Elder, she's somewhat composed.
But you know, the thing that gets me, why do some of us look towards other races when it comes to the negative, but we don't look towards other races when it comes to the positive? Asian people, they're known for, you know, their high emphasis on education or savings, and why don't we look towards them? But I mean, if something, oh well, you know, black people are bad at this. Well, what about Asian people? Well, why not? If we're going to compare ourselves to them on the negative, why not try to compare ourselves to them on the positive? And if it comes up lacking, why not try to what should I say, improve ourselves as a whole, so that, you know, then it will be a nice comparison on even levels. I don't know if that came out right, but
I totally get what you're saying. You're saying that like black people often move the bar, look less responsible for things. You know, I even had somebody in my comment section say the other day, well, we're good at dancing and basketball. I mean, those are two physical activities, so I guess you could say maybe overall black people are probably the most... Let's just play the video.
I'll play it.
Because 60% of the country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. You want me to talk about how bad white people are, which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do. And please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism. 87% of blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black-on-black crime. Why? Because it was rare for a black kid to be raised in a family without a father in the home, a strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter, Charlemagne. All the things that made black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter.
All of those things have always been under attack by white supremacy. You can go back to things like whether it's the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Oh, this is so infuriating. It's like every time he gives you the answer, it's the Black Democratic Party that is keeping black people down. Literally telling you what it is that they're doing, and then he brings up white supremacy again. Like, just let it go. Let white supremacy at this point in your lives go, because white people are not standing over you like puppets anymore. Maybe that's how it was in slavery. That's not the case anymore. It's a mental prison that black people have put themselves under to believe that white supremacy exists at this point. What do you say? It sounds like you don't agree with Larry on that one.
I agree to an extent, but I will say there are things still put in place that, in my honest opinion, is designed to hurt the black community.
Like what? Like what?
Like I'm not sure the proper term for it. I could be wrong, but I believe it's called redlining, where they will like put imaginary boundaries around zones, that if you live in this zone, they're going to charge you higher taxes, higher insurance, and all that. So if you're a black person who's just barely making ends meet, I mean, it's a little, let's put it like this. The reason why people want more money is because more money opens up more opportunity. Now, not everybody would use money wisely. I mean, I hate to say it, some people won't use money wisely at all. It was a coworker of mine. He used the pandemic, and he used that money that he got during the pandemic, and he went and took some classes in coding. Now he's pretty much working from home and making a decent amount.
Wow.
So, again,
is that person black? Just out of curiosity.
I was trying to avoid that. Actually, he's Caucasian.
Oh,
he's Caucasian.
A great example if he was black.
But I mean, it would have been a great example. But I mean, how do I put this?
All your friends are white. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm gonna say that I think a lot of us really need to sit back and think about the value of money, not in terms of stuff we could get, but in opportunities it can open up. If we started looking at money instead as rather than a thing, something to buy stuff, but what did they, it was a quote that the greatest thing you can buy is knowledge, because knowledge can never be taken away from you.
We have 2 little ones, you guys, so if you keep seeing me pop over, it's because, yeah, mom life, hashtag mom life, okay? Oh boy. All right, so there's a few more minutes of this, but the point of this video is, like, straight up, black people, you need to start taking responsibility for where your life is at and stop blaming white people. Like, seriously.
Like, every time black people do create these systems that are our systems and we are the entrepreneurs, it seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
The Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt without one dime of government money.
So you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused.
Damn, you're gonna fight that? He just said within 5 years, the whole Black Wall Street, yes, it was destroyed by racism, but it was rebuilt with black dollars less than 5 years later. So ultimately, what is holding you back from attaining the things and the businesses and the entrepreneurship that you want to achieve in your life? Nothing. Because if they could do it back then with all those things against them, then here in 2023, we should be all successful. Like, you know what I'm saying? It should be something in us that looks back on what happened to our previous ancestors and says, you know what, we're going to achieve more because you weren't able to.
No, I never came close to saying there was no racism.
You just said you don't think it's systemic racism.
Not anymore.
I'm just so confused on, do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir.
Can I just make this point, Charlamagne, please? Let's take Chinese Americans. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for a Chinese American or a Japanese American kid to have a child outside of wedlock.
You really want to talk about our community, right? You look at the schools in our community. Some of our schools are the worst, right? Don't have Wi-Fi, don't have education,
which is why one of the reasons I'm running for president is for school choice. Also, don't qualify for a loan. Maybe we shouldn't get a loan. Well, duh. It wasn't true that black people were not getting loans. Turn down rate when you apply for a loan at a community bank was even higher.
Black-owned banks weren't even approving loans for black people either, so you can't say it's systematic racism. It's just that, you know, maybe that certain people from certain neighborhoods and that just happen to be black don't pay their bills. But it was an interesting concept also that he said that the Chinese American household is doing even better than white people, and they are more of a minority in this country than black people. And they're really disciplined people. Like, we could learn a lot from the Asian culture, truth be told.
I've never been turned down for a loan that I applied for. I have really good credit.
I do stay within my means, so I'm not sitting up here applying for like $1 million loans. You know what I'm saying? I'm applying for loans that I would qualify for based upon what I can, you know, pay back based on what I make. So, you know, if you're not making any money, or if you're just negligent in paying your bills on time, that's something that's going to show up on your credit record. And black, white, Chinese, it don't matter who it is, they're going to turn you down because you don't have the credit to get that.
Even family members who come to me trying to get money, I say, you know, I'm like a credit card company. I rate your past to determine your future. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is very true, and that is, you know, nobody can knock you for that. Everyone in this room that we're watching is black, and everyone in this room is black, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at my son like, you know, he don't really look like it yet, but he will get his black features, y'all. We waiting on him. But
I'm waiting on him.
The point is, we're all black here, and I recognize this conversation as important. And I'm not offended that Larry Elder focuses on black people at all, but it's almost like the Breakfast Club members were offended by it. They were like trying to bring up white people and white people this and white people that, systematic racism that. And it's like, no, just accept. Just accept that your life sucks because you made it that way. Like,
you know what, in all honesty, me personally, I wish our race as a whole would do a lot better, because it saddens me when I turn on the news and it's a crime committed, and just I don't even have to see the faces. I can just hear the names and the act, and I almost automatically know who it was, who did it. And just, I mean, it's so much going on, because Now, here's something he didn't touch on. Systems in place. Like me personally, I still believe there are systems in place to try to, what should I say, destroy the black community. But a lot of us don't even realize, because we've been indoctrinated in these systems to make it seem like it's totally normal from the time up. I mean, we've grown up watching movies like Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood. I mean, that was normal for us and stuff like that. And then we see rappers, females, males, always with the people about money, drugs, and sex, and that's what they brainwash us with. Even in the TV shows directed to us, it's rarely wholesome. And if you do find some wholesome, they're throwing some form of, what should I say, homosexuality. So if you have kids that you want to grow up to be straight, to carry on the lineage and all that, it's so much that's geared towards us that I would just like us to be able to stand firm and become stronger as a race and as individuals.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that too. Now there's like maybe 30 more seconds of this, and then we'll put in our final thoughts.
It is just not the case that the reason for the plight of the black community is because people were not lending money to them.
So 2023, right?
I said 1995.
1995. We told 2023, right? My son will be successful in real estate and successful in buying a house. You know why? Because his father owns a house. Because his father owns a house, right? But my father,
because of you and the drive, because of you and the drive you put in, you're not even appreciating what you've done to your son.
I'm just asking you a question. I just let you speak.
It's almost like they didn't like the things that Larry was saying, so it's almost like they all ganged up on him in a way. I mean, you telling me nothing that he was saying was relevant or true, and yet this man is going to be running for president of the United States? Like, somebody obviously agrees with him.
I like DJ Envy's approach to it, because he, out of everybody, he kind of sat back and listened. And when he started to speak, that's when he was like, I hate to say it, Larry was starting to cut him off, and he's like, hold up, you got to let me speak. I'll let you speak, let me speak. So, I mean, in a debate, it's always going to be opposing opinions, but in order to, what should I say, reach some sort of a conclusion, you got to hear each one out. As far as my opinion go, overall, I did like what he was talking about. Although I can't necessarily agree that there's still not forces in place meant to like destroy the black community. I did like what he was saying, and if he ran, he would probably get my vote. And no, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I am for whoever I feel has my best interests.
We can kind of like corner ourselves into just thinking that Democrat or Republican, we have to go this way. It's like, no, it's based upon the policies that they want to change. Like he was saying that he's all for school of choice, which apparently means that you can put your child in the school that you want them to go to, not based upon where you live. Because there are, let's just call it what it is, better schools and better areas based upon the money that is in that area. Like a lot of people aren't necessarily running to Detroit to get their kids in school in Detroit. People will move to like some of the suburban areas and then put their kids in those schools because they have better education all the way around, all across the board. So, and let's just call it what it is. Money has everything to do with everything. I mean, the more money you have, the better lifestyle you can live, the better the schools are going to be in your area. I mean, the better police department, fire department, everything.
If anybody says that money doesn't make the world go round, slap them. Because this world is built on money.
It is. And I agree with everything you said. I'm all about, like, you know what? You have in this life what you make it. I believe that most people can overcome the obstacles that are in life, because let's just be honest, nobody's born into a perfect world. I mean, even if somebody has a platinum spoon, they're not born into a world that's still perfect. They just have money. So there's other issues besides money. We're just used to, because of maybe how we grew up and how our parents grew up, that money was always something that we were trying to achieve. Well, hopefully in the next generation, if we do what we're supposed to do, our kids will have other problems besides money. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal. And you guys definitely leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. We appreciate you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.